So we have brands that, they talk about, well, I really want to communicate this. I really want to highlight this product, or I want to showcase this part of it. And it's like, that's good. Don't get me wrong, but is that what the consumer wants? If it is, awesome. Then you've got synergy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the eComm Growth Show.
Let's go. Boom, boom, we're live. Let's go.
You want to introduce it?
Guys, today we have a special guest. You've probably seen him before, but this guy has one of the best beards in Northwest Arkansas. He has one of the best careers that we've seen. He used to be higher up at Walmart. I think he was, what were you, a CEO for a while, Nathan?
Not quite. I was on the Energizer personal care team. We did all of the Walmart marketing for Energizer.
That's right. So now close to a CEO. I was just messing around, but Nathan now is our CMO and has really helped us crush our own marketing. But he also does something unique too, where he's auditing accounts that are coming into our business. So he gets to look over tons of accounts every single month and gets to see what's working well, what's not. So I think that's what we're going to dive in today, but super excited to have you on today, Nathan.
Yep. Let's do it.
Let's go.
So I guess the main thing when we're looking, and this is actually a huge privilege of ours to be able to have like this much data. Like we provide these free audits, and it's a super valuable service to prospective clients and people who don't actually end up working with us. It's a way that we can offer free value continually and like have a look under your hood, so to speak, and see what's going wrong, see what's going well, and send you off with some really good information, or use that information to start a working relationship together. So it also gives us the advantage though of just having like a really good grid for what people are doing in the industry, because we're literally doing hundreds of these, hundreds and hundreds. So I guess one thing that I would ask you just right off the bat is, what's like one of the most common mistakes you see when you're cracking open a prospective ad account?
So the most common mistake that I see is basically people are doing what I like to call advertising for clicks instead of advertising for shoppers. So in online retail, we used to have this PPC model where basically advertisers just literally looked at cost per click all day long. That's all they wanted. They just wanted people to click on the ad because typically the brand or the item, whatever, that team that was managing all that stuff, they knew that if they could get a click, how much that click was worth, how much, how many times those clicks resulted in purchases. And then they could determine their cost per acquisition based on a cost per click. Now, the problem with that model is that there is so much online shopping being done with savvy consumers. These people are looking at reviews of products. They're looking at multiple different products in the space. So let's say, for instance, here's a good example. I'm going to Colorado for spring break to do some snowboarding, right? And whenever I start looking at that stuff, I start looking at jackets, pants, gloves, stuff like that, right? Basically, somebody's going to sit there and look at maybe 50 different jackets before they go on spring break because they want to know, is this a good jacket based on the reviews? Is it like how much waterproofing does it have? Color? Do I like the color? Do I like the style? Is it my style? Does it fit me versus somebody else? All these things come into play. And it's virtually like that with any single product you think about in online retail. So now we have these savvy consumers that are going around there researching before they buy. In order to keep those people interested in what you have going on, you have to have a strategy that takes them from basically the first time they see you to the purchase. And what we call this in Walmart world or big retail world is the path to purchase. It's basically the customer journey. That's what you're taking them on. And there are different levels in this journey. we call them the awareness levels. So like the first one is when somebody just sees you. They don't really know who you are. They don't know anything about you. They see an ad and maybe they click on it, maybe they don't. But there's a strategy for that, because when somebody sees that ad, you need to be able to communicate with them basically virtually. Like they don't know anything about you. You've got to communicate who you are, what you sell, why it's good, all in the matter of 10 to 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which sounds stupid impossible, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. That's the thing, is that with a dedicated marketing strategy, and when I say that, I mean somebody has taken the time to drill down their messaging, their creative, and everything in a way that makes them think, when somebody sees me, what do they want to see? Mm-hmm. Or what do I want them to see?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we talk about...
And really quick, just to add to that, you mentioned it earlier, but a big piece that's becoming more and more important is the believability behind it, because there's a lot of people who can put out a good image and make a crappy product look nice. But like you said, we have savvy consumers now. And so not only are they reading, features, benefits, really going through all the details of the product, they're then looking for believability and social proof. So they're looking for those reviews. And so you do need to always be building that, because marketers are pretty good and they can make a pretty crappy product look nice. And so a savvy consumer is going to make sure that it's actually nice through social proof and reviews.
Exactly. And I mean, we've talked about it on different episodes and stuff like that, about understanding what the consumer is actually looking for. Mm-hmm. You've got to put yourself in their shoes as well. So, I mean, a lot of people think, this is my brand, this is what I want, this is my vision. We talked about that on episodes before as well. What is the vision for my company, for my brand, for my items? But you also have to think about from the other end, like, what do these people see when they look at you? Mm-hmm. Not just what you see. So we have brands that, they talk about, well, I really want to communicate this. I really want to highlight this product, or I want to showcase this part of it. And it's like, that's good. Don't get me wrong, but is that what the consumer wants? If it is, awesome. Then you've got synergy. Then you know what your messaging needs to be talking about. Because at the top of the funnel, which is where that first level of awareness is, at the top of the funnel, you need to be communicating brand. You need to be communicating who you are. You need to be communicating values. And really, like, what makes you unique from this other person that you might see on your Facebook feed next. Mm-hmm. And so really at the top of the funnel, we're communicating those things, but then it goes further. A lot of times I see people overthink like this part of it, which is the retargeting part, mm-hmm. right? So a lot of people understand like that top of funnel cold traffic concept of, I need to just get eyeballs. If I get eyeballs and if I get traffic, I'll make some money, mm-hmm. right? The problem is that's not the path to purchase all the time. Like I said, you got people going around, they're browsing on your store, but they're also browsing on other people's stores. And you've got to remember that, mm-hmm. that these people aren't just looking at your stuff, they're looking at a lot of different stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to rein them back in. And that's where the retargeting comes in. And it's not as simple as just running an ad with a product catalog, which is what I see a lot of. That's the second mistake that I see a lot of, is that people just throw their catalog ads out there that have, it's almost like the Google shopping way of doing things.
Yeah.
Like, let's just look at products on the Facebook feed and, browse around and click on these things. In the beginning, those worked so well because nobody else had them. Facebook was the only person that had that retargeting. Like, I just went and looked at this pair of shoes and now I'm seeing this pair of shoes on my feed. Like, this is magic. This is some black magic kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, it's kind of like a known thing. Like people know, like I'm going to go and look at something and I'm going to see it on my social media. It's just normal now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what I see in this mistake is that people don't really have a content strategy for that retarget. When somebody goes and they interact with you on social media, or they click on your ad and go to your store, but they don't necessarily do anything inside of the store, they just browse and that's it. You've got to have a content strategy for that person. How do I speak to them differently than when I spoke to them the first time? Because what I see a lot of is, let's just go ahead and make this ad and let's put it at every single level in the customer acquisition process that we can.
Yeah, and that's way more
It's going to
common.
be at top of the funnel.
That's way more common than you'd think. Just running the same ad, even if they have good funnel structure in there, it's like, why would you put all the same ads and the same content in every single layer? Because then you basically blinding them that there is a structure and there is a journey, like you said, a path to purchase.
And I mean, I understand the testing behind it. Like you want to test your ads at every different level. That's totally fine. We're not talking about that. If you want to test your ad at every single level to see where it performs, that's totally fine. Have about 3 to 5 different ads to test at every single level. That's what we do. We test everybody's stuff at every single level, but it's what we call hyper testing. And what we mean by that is we test it for like 2, 3, 4 days at most. And then we start looking to see, okay, this is performing really well at the very beginning of the funnel. This is performing really well whenever somebody interacts with us but doesn't buy. And this performs really well when somebody, goes all the way to a cart but doesn't necessarily purchase anything. So then we start to see, okay, now we've got our strategy. We tested it out. We've broken it out. We've figured out what works. Now we know our strategy. And so that's really where like the third mistake comes in, is how do you scale? How do you optimize that?
Yeah.
And really what it is taking what you saw in the testing and making different waves of content based on that. So the third mistake that I see is that people they get a really good content strategy figured out and they're like, cool, I'm done. Right? And you're not done.
Yep.
Like, I mean, you're not done. Like marketing is not done. You're never done. That's the one thing that, people hate about marketing is that it'll work. And then all of a sudden, why is it not working anymore? And then like, there's this collective, oh no, now what do we do? So the answer is you take a look at your strategy that you proved. Now, how can you make the same strategy, but with different content? So, we found that top of funnel ad that performed really well. How can we say that again, but in a different way, at a different angle, that type of thing? So for us with the online retail, typically we're looking at like a best-selling item that we're showcasing through a video. Like, somebody walking through, maybe they've got an outfit on, or maybe it's like a mug and they're showing it off and blah, blah, blah. Or, it's a pair of shoes and somebody's walking through the city with like this downward angle showcasing that off. Okay, that ad worked really well. How can we do that again? Okay, maybe we have a new arrival in our store that's coming up, like, another item that we're about to get some inventory for. Shoot the same kind of ad with that, a little bit different angle, maybe seasonal instead of, using a winter backdrop, we're using a spring backdrop type of thing.
Yep.
That is marketing right there. Like the people that can take a look at what they're doing and basically multiply it every single quarter or every single season. That's what we do as marketers.
Yep.
Like that's what we do at every single level in retail, whether it's big box retail or indie brand retail. We need to take a look at, okay, obviously guys, summer's coming up. and we're not going to be selling the same stuff that we sold in the winter.
Yeah.
So how do we take our strategy that worked in the winter and apply it to summer? So that's really the third mistake that I see a lot of, is that people just don't try to scale and optimize a strategy like more than once. They just try to stick with something and stick with something and stick with something. And when it breaks, they don't really know where to go from there.
What about some things where we see some warm signs, maybe some things that the brand is doing correctly, that are like getting them on a good trajectory, basically, but maybe they don't have the full picture? What are some things that we see a lot of people actually doing good, and what are some things that we could communicate so that if people are doing them, they know they're on the right track?
So basically this comes down to metrics. We start looking at things like return on ad spend, cost per acquisition. You also have to look at how much budget has been tested against something. So something, we talk about it all the time in team meetings, something that has a high return on ad spend, if there's only been $100 thrown at it, like, you know, we could get a 10x, 20x return on ad spend on one sale. And that looks real sexy when you pull up the return on ad spend. But at the end of the day, it was just one sale. Like we don't really know the full picture.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, something that's been tested against thousands of dollars is a completely different story. What I like to look at is I like to look at the return on ad spend first and see if I can find at the top of funnel, if we are even, you know, over break even point, then we're doing pretty good at the top of the funnel, because you're basically paying for free people. Like you're paying a break even point to get people into your customer acquisition system, and you're going to be selling to them over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So we're really building that lifetime value customer there.
Yeah.
So at the top of the funnel, that's the first thing I look for, to see if you are getting an affordable cost per acquisition at the top of funnel. And this could be different for everybody. I audited somebody 2 weeks ago. They were doing about a 1.5 to 2x return on ad spend. And then I looked at their cost per acquisition, and their cost per acquisition was $130 per sale.
Ooh.
So I'm sitting here going, what are these people selling? So I go into their site, and it's a bunch of like $75, $80, $120 items. So then I'm thinking, oh, so they're actually doing pretty good at building their cart.
Yeah.
Building that average order value. That's the next thing we look at, is average order value. Like if you can sell something for $120 and still be making money on that, you're doing pretty damn good.
Yeah.
If you're selling something for $20 and you're making that kind of money, you're doing even better. But if you sell something for $20 and you only make $35, then all of a sudden you're not doing too bad.
Nathan,
You know what I mean? It's not scalable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who can benefit from a proper paid ad strategy like this? I think I know what you're going to say. It's everybody, right? You know what I mean? Maybe just break that down. Like you've told us before, you're like, I don't care who it is, what they're selling. If I have enough time and enough budget, we're going to see stuff start happening. Maybe speak to that a little bit. Like this is not, you know, just for people who have XYZ in place. Like if you sell online and you have a little bit of a stomach and a budget for some of this, like you're going to get it figured out. We have enough tools and data and stuff to be able to make it happen, right?
That's pretty much my mentality. That if you've got money to put behind advertising, I can make something happen. I mean, that's the way my mind works when it comes to a brand and that's the way, if somebody's watching this and, you know, either they want to do it or they want to hire somebody to do it or whatever the case may be, if you know how to basically market your brand at every single level in the customer acquisition process, you can make money. And I mean, the cool thing about what I do is that I can do it for multiple people. I can take a brand and I can break it down, and I can virtually say by the end of it, like, I can make these people money in this way, this way, this way. I mean, that's really what you want to look at. Like, you want somebody that can take your stuff and break it down into a strategy and basically be able to say, if we do this, this, and this, and you can, take care of this on your end. Maybe it's the creative, maybe it's videos, maybe it's photos, maybe it's amending your website a little bit to have a free shipping offer or something like that. Just those little bits and pieces that you can do on your end. If you can do that, we're going to make some money.
Yep. Yeah. And then I'd say there's another step down from that that's even a little bit warmer, where it's like, even if your ad account is a mess, you don't know what you're doing, there really isn't much warm signs, but we see that you're a brand who has a following. You're a brand who's, maybe building a Facebook group, maybe has a lot of followers on the Facebook or the Instagram page, and they're actually an engaged audience. If you're a brand that has, I guess I'd call it like social momentum or brand momentum, that's like even a step better, where if you have that, what we can do is just really amplify that and put some ad spend behind it. And that's what helps people scale really quickly, is when they've already figured out how to speak to their audience already likes their product, but they just need the strategic part. That tends to be a really, really good fit, which is even like a step better from just somebody who's willing to do what it takes to make the money.
Yep. And data goes along with that as well. Like somebody, like from my end, followers, engaged audiences, stuff like that. That's a really good foundation. But there's also data with that. So whenever we do, as a marketer, we take data and we build. Because if you can take a little bit of data and basically turn it into this much data, then all of a sudden you're selling to this audience, and then you're selling to this audience. And that's really where the scalability comes, is when it comes to organic marketing and followers and stuff like that, you really are capped in how much potential you have.
Yeah.
But whenever we take that data and we put it into a paid ad system, the potential is uncapped.
Yeah, one thing that's been so cool too that we've seen with a lot of our clients is I feel like a lot of people, when they think about scaling, and specifically scaling an e-commerce brand, they think about a really large investment, and they're thinking like, I'm going to really have to just be bold about putting in a ton of money, a ton of ad spend, buying a ton of inventory, and then eventually I'm going to see the fruits of that. And that is a really good perspective to bring into a relationship with an agency or someone who's going to help you out in your marketing. But what's cool is, not only have we been helping people get more revenue, we've been getting them more profit just because the results are that good when you actually have a strategy that's working. And so that's super cool too. Like if you do it right, there actually is more cash to reinvest into the business and use that to get the flywheel going more and more. That's what we're all about, more revenue, but not just more revenue, also more profit.
And that is the name of the game in retail. I mean, you got to think about it. And I talk about this all the time with the team or even prospects. With Walmart, it's all CPG stuff. It's all household goods.
Yeah.
Right? So it's stuff that you have in your pantry that's $3, $4, $5. A lot of people look at that. Even sometimes our team looks at that and they go, how are we going to make a margin on that?
Guys, I'm going to throw our sales team under the bus. That's always what they say. No, they're learning a little bit more, but you should speak to that a little bit, because that's like a huge emerging thing. Like just the way our current world is, like a lot of that's going online, and they need help. And people like us can help them. So maybe speak to that a little bit.
The biggest thing that happened over the pandemic was a need for online ordering for daily necessities. That's the biggest thing that happened in the pandemic. And convenience is the biggest key, because people need to be able to pick something up, or they need to have something delivered, instead of going in a store filled with 500 to 1,000 people and potentially exposing themselves. Right? So all of a sudden, this huge demand started becoming a necessity. Like, people had to get online order processes in place for stuff that normally they would sell in store, brick and mortar, and that's it. Part of that was grocery. Grocery got huge online last year in 2020 because people needed all of their necessities, all of their groceries, all that. But it's like, I don't really want to go and expose myself to the public and possibly get whatever everybody's getting. You know what I mean?
Did you just say expose myself to the public?
That didn't sound right.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
I get it though.
You
Go
get
on.
You get what I'm saying. But yeah, they order pickup became a big thing.
Yeah.
Order delivery became a big thing for especially big box retailers. But when we talk about like that specific industry being online, it's really hard for somebody that maybe owns a farm and, you know, puts out their own grass-fed beef, or whether it's, you know, beef or, I don't know, vegetation, produce, whatever you want to call it. A lot of those people in traditional senses have relied on retail to make their money.
Yep.
So it's like, I'm a farmer, I've got to put that into a store so that it can sell. And that store controls the supply chain. They basically tell me, and you guys know this with fishing, they control the market. They tell you how much they're going to pay you for it.
Totally.
Because they have to make a margin on it. Right?
Yeah.
It's so funny you
Now-
say that.
Go ahead.
I was looking over Daniel's shoulder. He just had somebody, a fisherman who's trying to do direct to consumer, reaching out to us. But stuff like that's happening all the time. And it's nice because you have much more control if you can go direct to consumer. And the way you do that is through having your own website and being able to properly market yourself.
And after I get done with this little segment, I'd like Dan to speak on this from his fishing experience, like about the market and stuff like that. But the big thing with those people is that they look at online sales and they think, how am I going to make a margin on this if my product is only $20, $30 at most? And that is not the case at all. You don't have to get a $5 cost per acquisition to make money or profit. What you really need to focus on is your lifetime value and your average order value, and increasing those things instead of looking at how much does it cost me to get somebody one time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You think about like seafood, like you guys in your fishing experiences. Seafood, if I am somebody that eats tilapia every single month, I've got to buy tilapia every single month, right? If I can find a convenient and affordable way of getting tilapia every single month delivered to my door, instead of going out in the public and having chaos, that's a win for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if I see an ad for that and I click on it and there's a subscription, all this, and I'm like sitting there going, okay, this is cool. I'm going to sign up for a subscription. This was big in the pandemic. HelloFresh, Freshly, all of these box to door, essentially like meal prepping services got huge. They made a lot of money because It's direct to consumer. My groceries are getting basically delivered to me. All I got to do is prepare it. Right. And I've been talking about this a lot because a lot of these farmers and fishermen and people like that typically had to rely on retail channels now don't have to rely on them anymore.
Yeah.
So Dan, like with your fishing experience, like if you had to do this all over again, like how would you do it with fishing?
Well, I was just thinking about that because we just interviewed someone a few months ago that's doing this really well. But he started out as a commercial fisherman and then realized what's happening with the market. Because basically the markets are saying, all right, go out fish. Sometimes you don't even know what the price is going to be that year. You're just out fishing, hoping to catch a lot, and then kind of negotiate. And then they set everyone at a specific price, keep fishing, and you have no control over it.
They say it's based on supply and demand. But then every time a fisherman would investigate, like, what was the demand last year? Like, because if the demand was high, the price should be a little better. But then they see like everybody sold everything they had, but then the canneries or the fish buyers, they're saying like, oh yeah, we can't pay that much. We're afraid we're not going to be able to get it sold.
Yeah.
So we're only going to pay you this per pound. And I would think the same is true for like anybody who's producing something like that. Whether you're a farmer, whether you're like a coffee roaster, stuff like that. But yeah, it just leaves them in a very vulnerable spot where their buyer is controlling the market, and they're saying it's based on supply and demand, but it's really just what do they want to pay you?
Yeah. Well, so this guy, he started out as a fisherman, then he realized, why am I fishing when the markets are the ones making all the money here? Fishermen make good money too, but he thought outside the box a little bit and basically created his own market where he was buying fish from these fishermen. And then he was just remarketing it and selling it direct to consumer online. And he said, dude, I'll spend so much money on my cost per acquisition because once they buy from us, they just keep coming back for more. Because that's what's great about fish, right? It has all these health benefits. Once people buy it once and they know it's good from that supplier, they're just going to keep coming back. A lot of people eat it on a weekly basis. So spend a ton of money to acquire someone because the LTV is so high on consumables like that.
And the quality of like produce, of meat, of fish, there's just such a wide range of quality. If you find one thing you like, you're never going to go like explore something cheaper because everybody's taking a bite of bad fish and it sucks. Like you don't want to do that. So if you find somebody who's giving you fresh fish consistently, even if it is a little bit more expensive than maybe this other person, like no one wants to like do that more than once. No one's going to just experiment with other meat providers or other produce providers if they have something that tastes good every single time. So the lifetime value on that is huge. And subscription services, like, and especially now.
Game over.
And that's what, like, you talked about my beard at the beginning. Like, my beard oil, I'm dedicated to it because it's the only one that I found that really, like, keeps me from flaking and stuff like that. Like, it's the only beard oil that I can use that, I mean, I've used a bunch in the past, and that's the only one that consistently kept me from flaking and kept it from being itchy and stuff like that. Dude, I've been with this guy since he started, and it's like I added it up, and I think I've been with him. I've been on his subscription for like 2.5 years.
Dang.
That's some pretty good LTV.
Because it's like I don't want to switch. Even if I see something that a competitor is putting out there, there's always that thinking like, is it going to be as good as the stuff that I'm using already? Or is it just going to be a waste of time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Does that wrap it up for today?
I would think so. Guys, if you have a consumer packaged good, if you want to cut out a retailer, go direct to consumer, and you're trying to figure out how to make that work for yourself, you want to join in on that conversation with us, we'd love to chat with you because we're pioneering this for a lot of people. We're figuring it out. We're very confident in what we're able to do, and we'd love to figure out how to make it work for you as well. So yeah, we'll have some links too. There's a really easy way for for you to get in touch with us if you'd like to. Just hit a link, fill out some information, and then we can hop on a call and see if we can actually help you out and do some of these things that we mentioned today on the eComm Growth Show.
Thanks so much, Nathan, for joining us. You dropped some real nuggets today. And if you guys like what you saw, please share this, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.